5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The September 24th meeting of the Audit Board is called to order. I do need to do that that motion, right, Director Cooper?
Yes, ma'am.
Pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 regarding electronic meetings as extended by Executive Orders number 34, 51, and 60, I make a motion that this committee, this Audit Board meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metropolitan Council, and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. Vice Mayor, I need you to second my motion.
I seconded it.
Okay, I didn't hear you, sorry.
That's okay, I was muted for some reason. Okay.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. I have been told that we need to choose a chair, Vice Mayor. There's only 3 members of the Audit Board, you, myself as the Chair of Budget and Finance, as well as the Chair of the School Board, and she is actually in a work meeting right now. So I am fine. She's not on the call. She's not on the call, no.
Okay, so should we nominate her since she's not?
We should.
I nominate Quante Toombs to be the chair.
I am happy with serving as chair just to run this meeting and get us going.
Okay, so can I second my own motion?
I'll second your motion.
Thank you. All right.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, so I'll serve as chair. So Director Cooper, I'm going to have you, for the viewing audience, give an overview of what the Audit Board is and what the duties of the Audit Board are. And then after you do that, we'll turn the reins over to Finance Director Cronbrough.
Sure. So the Audit Board is created by the Charter. It's section 6.15 of the Charter. And that section of the Charter requires that there be an outside independent audit of all of the accounts and financial transactions for Metro. That is to be an outside accounting firm, and the members of that firm cannot have any personal interest in the financial affairs of Metro or any of its departments or agencies. The Audit Board is a 3-member board, as you said. It's the chair of the Council Budget and Finance Committee, the Vice Mayor, and the chair of the School Board. And the board's sole function is to choose the firm to perform what is called the post audit for Metro. So the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the process for putting out an RFP for choosing the audit firm.
And I just want to note that School Board member Christian Buggs is on the call. She's our 3rd member. At this time, Finance Director Cronbrough, if you can explain how we go about choosing that outside auditor, what's the RFP process?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to do that. And hello, everyone. So without getting too deeply into the technical weeds of auditing, as Director Cooper was explaining there, the purpose is to provide, the outside view of our financial statements and express an opinion on those. And we, like most every other local government, do that each and every year. As you may have noted, last year, the comptroller and some others are wanting us to move that process more quickly than we have in the past. And there hasn't been any particular, overwhelming requirement that we violate or anything that's gone wrong, but rather we need to move more quickly. And so the Crossland firm, who's been with us quite some time now, really stepped up, worked with Phil Carr and others within my department and made that happen. They not only had the what we know is really our financial statement audit done quickly, but also our single audit report and some schedules and so forth that really support that. And so we've had a great year with them. We're in the audit season now because we've just finished our last fiscal year, and those activities have begun. And I think the last time this board came together, I know it was Chairman Mendez at the time had said, Crossland has been with us for a number of years now, and we should be giving some thought to doing a rotation of auditors, which is common. Organizations, large and small, will rotate auditors on the presumption that it's good to have a fresh set of eyes every so often. But to my knowledge, there isn't any requirement out there that you can do that. It's really just the judgment of the underlying organization. Because one thing that's unusual in terms of understanding what an audit is, it's really just about an opinion of management's financials. Right. It's not a compilation or something that the auditor goes and creates on their own, but rather we create it and they express an opinion on that. And so as long as we as an organization are comfortable that that opinion has been done in good form, that those that are doing it are independent of us and doing a good job, we can feel confident about that. And so last year when the board came together, I had explained that we were in the middle of a lot of turmoil at that time. We had some of the pressures that I mentioned earlier and then some, and that it would be a pretty lousy time, frankly, to look at changing auditors because to ramp down one audit effort for an organization our size and ramp up another is a sizable and can be a very expensive undertaking to do that. But said, hey, this next year when we meet, which is this meeting here, maybe we could look at that again, and was thinking, like I'm sure most of you, that we would be on the other side of a lot of our financial challenges. And we have been there until the last few weeks where we've had the referendum. I think all of you are familiar with that. I won't get into those details today, come around. And it is really causing tremendous disruption across the metro government, particularly for my department at this moment. And as you may have seen already, today I had to issue a hiring freeze, a capital spending freeze, and some other things that are preemptive to problems that we're anticipating on the horizon. And so instead of being in a really good place where I think we'd have a more academic conversation about a rotation of auditors, I think we find ourselves in a more troubled place than we were last time we had this discussion. And so just hopping right to it, my suggestion to you as a committee is that we continue with Crossland for one more year. That will allow us to finish the audit report that they have underway and that we can expect sometime near the end of this calendar year, and then allow us to get right into the next season and not cause a lot of disruption in the process of doing that. I will tell you quite selfishly, my department has been impacted already by turnover. I expect this hiring and some of the things I mentioned that were announced today to make that worse. And in the midst of it, I'm looking here, I'm seeing Phil Carr on the phone here. He's been in charge of our financial statements for many years now and has plans to retire at the end of this next year. Apparently my salesmanship of keeping him past retirement day has not been very good. So all in, I think it's going to be rather disruptive at this moment to change auditors and change our leadership internally all in the same year. So I would suggest that as a path. I'm not opposed to another path, but as a matter of practicality, I just think it would be good for us to stay on this one.
So, Madam Chair, I have a quick question.
You're recognized, Vice Mayor.
All right. So, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Crumpo, so is there, in terms of how this process works with, I know the discussion was at some point you go back out with an RFP, but are we within all our legal rights and statutory requirements just to go ahead and extend another year with Crossland?
Yes, Vice Mayor, there is no requirement that there be a competitively bid process. The charter gives that sole authority to the audit board. So as long as the firm meets the requirements in the charter for conducting the audit, which Crossland obviously does, then extending for another year is within the purview of the board.
All right. So one question for Mr. Crumbo. So last year at this time, you had the same discussion and said things are a mess, very difficult, and we should wait. So you jinxed us, I think, because now things are just difficult. So don't say anything. Just let me go ahead and make the motion, at least to get the thing on discussion. I think, John, is it appropriate to go ahead and have the committee move to accept Crossland, ask or request that Crossland stay on for an additional year? Is that the proper thing to do at this point?
Yes, Vice Mayor, that would be appropriate to get the matter up for discussion, and then the terms of that we can have discussion on.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, I would make that motion. Obviously, having listened to Mr. Crumbo, things are very, very difficult at this point. Everybody's busy. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. We're in the middle of passing a property tax increase, and now we have a referendum. There's a lot of things going on. We're also in the middle of somewhere either in the middle or maybe getting closer to the end of a pandemic. Who knows? But now is not necessarily the time where we spend a lot of resources looking at an RFP. I think we just kind of hold on. So that was a long explanation for my motion, but the motion is made.
And I will second your motion, Vice Mayor. And so now we're going to discussion. So with keeping our current auditor, Crossland, what does it look like in terms of choosing or potentially choosing someone else next time? Like, what would be the timeline for that?
I haven't thought deeply about exactly the months that we would do that, but in my experience, when choosing an auditor for an organization this large, you like to start early so that you can get a good section of firms that may want to respond. And likewise, I think for the Crossland firm, they may want to participate, Matt, for yet another renewal then. And I think we'll have some really good things to say about how firms that have been incumbent for a while can continue to maintain their independence and comfort all of us that they're there to do a good job. And Mr. Crossland may wouldn't even comment on that today if he's prepared, but by and large, I would say sometime about this time next year is when we would start to do that, if not earlier. The way I think about our years here, of course, is on a fiscal year basis. And so the audit season that's underway now is for our fiscal year just ended in June 20. And so when I'm talking about last year, it really wasn't a full 12 months ago that we were talking about this. It was probably, 6 months ago. And so we would be looking to finish this fiscal year and then get into the next audit season. I think just as that audit season is getting started, would probably be a good time to start asking other firms, to respond to an RFP. And we would probably write that sometime in the spring next year because those things take a little while to do and do well. And we haven't done one for this purpose in quite a while.
So Crossland will do the audit of our fiscal year 21 finances, right? With choosing them to stay on as the auditor. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And so next year, I guess I'm trying to understand because next year at this time will be an audit season again. So would it be appropriate to choose someone else once you're in audit season? I think I'm not understanding the timeline.
Yeah, so just as a practical matter for an organization this large, what you'd like to do is, if you're going to change, allow lots of time for one auditor to wind down their work and make an orderly transition to the other. So ideally, you'd like to start that a little before or maybe a little after the incumbent firm begins its work, so there can be a little look over the shoulder, as the saying goes. And just depending on the nature of what both firms feel is appropriate, they tend to work that out on their own. But here, I'm anticipating that as a result of the referendum and so much of the other turmoil we have, that we're a rather complicated beast as the saying goes, and the two firms may want to spend more time than less. So I really wasn't expecting a question today about what month we start an RFP, but I would say sometime in the spring we would do that. Those take 30 to 60 days to do, and we would pick someone could still be with Crossland. I don't want to unnecessarily bias that. I think incumbent firms, particularly where there's turmoil, can be a great thing, very helpful, frankly.
Okay, so Crossland would do the fiscal year 21, and then it could be Crossland, or if there's a new firm, there would be some, like, I guess, crossover, so that there could be, I guess, like an understanding from the new firm of what the Crossland has worked on, so we can complete the following audit.
That's right. And so the new firm would really begin its work for the fiscal 22 year.
Right. Okay. Okay. Vice Mayor, do you have any questions?
No, I think I'm good. Is the school board chair on? Ms. Bud's on?
She is. I don't. School board member Buzz, do you have any questions? I think she's trying to do 2 meetings simultaneously.
Okay. Well, I think I would say that again. I think this, things are always going to be tricky in terms of running into dealing with financial matters and so forth. I also understand every so often the need to go out with an RFP. Also understand the need that sometimes people go, well, we've been with one entity, you move it around just for everybody's sake. But again, I would agree with the finance director. I'm not sure this is necessarily a good time to be trying to switch. I think it makes sense just for stability purposes to just hold it together for maybe this year and then take a look at it in the spring, with the hope that maybe things are a lot clearer and we have a much better picture of more stability in terms of where we are, and then that's why I think it's relevant to go ahead and pass this today.
If I could say, this is John Crossland. Evan, I think you had a question for me, or would have liked me address the the rotation of auditors and RFP process. Really, over time, there's so few large firms that can audit the big public companies. So there became a rule where the audit partners have to be rotated every so often for an SEC audit. Not necessarily the audit firms. Most of the time, the companies stay with the audit firms. I mean, there's been some of the larger companies have had the same audit firm since the 1880s, 1890s. But what they do is they change the audit partner. So to give the committee members some comfort, we didn't do the same thing. The first 8 years we had David Hunt serve as the engagement partner, and then 2 or 3 years ago I became the audit partner to give that fresh set of eyes and that fresh look at the audit. And we have a number of other partners that, if it was ever applicable to us, which we hope it would be, that we could rotate right into theirs as well. So there is a long-term plan if we're so lucky to do so, to keep that fresh set of eyes.
Director Crumbo, did you have anything else to add?
Oh, no, I would just agree. I've seen this go both ways, and it's just a judgment call for us as an organization, is what we like to do. And I think, just put simply here, we were hoping to find ourselves in a much better place. We are. I think we will create disruption externally with the move, and I think that the Crossland firm feels like they need to rotate audit partners at this point, and that no objection here. I really don't think it's necessary. John, I don't think you've been on the job that long, right?
No, I don't think we need to just yet. Like I said, David Hunt was the audit partner for 8 years, and then really management preferred us actually to stick with with David. He does a fantastic job, but at the urging of Bob Mendez, we did rotate audit partners to get that fresh look, which is fine. And but I don't think we need another rotation yet. I've only been at it this is my 3rd year as the first partner on the job, and it's really, honestly, it takes a few years to fully understand and comprehend the entire metropolitan government and how it works and how everything flows. So as a firm, we wouldn't recommend a rotation just yet.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, Vice Mayor. I see Director Cooper's hand up. Director Cooper?
The Vice Mayor may be addressing what I was just going to mention, which was just a modification of the motion to retain Crossland for a year under the similar terms as the existing contract to be determined by the Finance Director.
Yes, so, Madam Chair, I was going to revise my motion and maybe this is as I'm revising, and I've got a question for Mr. Trumpo. So, do you we keep this under the same terms and conditions of our existing contract, or is that subject to your review and approval, and then you bring it? I don't know if you have to bring it in front of the council. So if we want to extend for 1 year, which is what my initial motion was, what are the terms and conditions of what we do?
Yeah, so my recommendation right now, and I haven't had a chance to speak with the Crossland firm, but would be to say if they would be agreeable to, extending on the same terms, particularly the same rates and things, same staffing levels that we have now, that would be ideal, just given our very difficult financial situation. But we haven't had a time to really discuss that yet. So if John would like to respond now, that's terrific. If not, I think it would be good for us to talk together on where he sees differences and negotiate a different arrangement and come back to the board.
I'm happy to comment. We're located right here in Nashville. All the people who work on the audit are Nashvillians. We understand what's going on in the city, and I just do not think it's appropriate, or I would not feel good about trying to increase the fees. Normally, the fees rise 2-4% a year. I do not have a problem at all keeping them the same. I would not want to do anything different. I mean, we see ourselves as yes, we're independent auditors, but we also see ourselves as part of a greater team, and the city's hurt, and we need to be part of that.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. With that having been said, Madam Chair, then I would revise my motion to say that we accept Crossland to continue to be our auditor for the next year under the same terms and conditions as we have in the contract. I guess including that their compensation stay the same. If there's an automatic 2% increase, that the understanding is that we keep it at the same level as we had this year, which is awfully nice of you all.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll second that motion. Is there any further discussion?
So one thing, Madam Chair, just to make sure that Mr. Cooper, did I get all that in terms of the motion? Is that clear?
Yes, Vice Mayor, that's clear.
Okay. Then I'm good, Madam Chair.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The motion carries. And I think that completes the business of the board for today, right, Director Cooper?
Yes, Madam Chair, with your permission, I will prepare a letter from you to the Finance Director memorializing the action taken today, and that should be it.
All right, so our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.